Hey you guys, it's your girl Jelly, as told by Ideas on IG, Real Sisters Real Talk, realsistersrealtalk.com. Please go check your girl out. I am back with Bible basics. I don't know why I didn't know what I was saying. And so this is Joseph, the story of Joseph. Some people have probably heard of him, Joseph, and the story of his many colors of his coats, or Joseph and his brothers. I think I titled it Joseph and his jealousy brothers, and how people can say that Joseph interpreted dreams and things like that. But I'm gonna start from the beginning. So again, if some of you guys don't know, the Bible basics is just something that God placed in my heart to do, so you guys can understand scripture. So not only from me, because I'm a baby teacher, but definitely from people who are interpreting the Bible and referencing different stories. So you can just have a baseline of actually what story they're talking about, or what they may be talking about, and you can reference to it, as well as just have knowledge of it. The Bible says my people died from a lack of knowledge, and it's no need to not know something if it's right there in front of your face. So, and as well, I always tell you guys, don't take my word for it. Go read it in the Bible. I will be referencing Genesis chapter 37. It's like 37 through 45 is like the story of Joseph, or 50 if you want to kind of get the broad range of it. But in the beginning, basically Jacob, or Israel, his name was changed later on, is Joseph's father. He actually had Joseph at a late age. I think he had like 11 brothers. And so when Joseph was born, his father actually favored him. Jacob, or Israel, his name is Israel now, had kind of favored Joseph and actually gave him the birthright. So you can only imagine the youngest, or one of the youngest, because I think he had a child after Joseph as well, but he favored Joseph, and so his brothers were mad. Sir, we've been here this whole time and we ain't get no birthright, but our brother come up in here talk about he dreaming stuff and he gets the birthright. And so that actually angered his brothers. Of course, men, we fell to many different things, so jealousy was very in there, and it came to the point where some of his brothers was like looking to murder him. And so it really it started off as just jealousy and envious, and then so once Jacob, or Israel, gave Joseph actually that the jacket of many colors. That's the story I actually learned in Bible studies class, and like when I was young, I learned that the coat of many colors, and so that was that made them really, really mad. And so not only that, Joseph was wearing it all around town. So just imagine, this is my favorite jacket, and it got many colors. I'm just wearing around town, knowing it's making my people, it's making my brothers mad, or my sisters mad, and they're like, you just gonna flaunt this in my face. And not only that, he had the birthright. God gave him the gift of dreams and interpreting dreams. And so Joseph actually said, what was it? It was, let me see. And it kind of made some, it gave insight too, because it was chapter 37, Genesis chapter 37, verse 9 was when, or it was verse 8, his brother says to him, no. Chapter 37, verse 5. Now Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him even more. He said to them, hear this dream that I have dreamed. Behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and behold, my sheaf arose and stood upright. And behold, your sheaves gathered around, and it bowed down to my sheaf. So it basically, Joseph interpreted his dream as him being, I would say, king, and his brothers would be bound down to him at one point in time in his life. So his brother was like, wait, you're dreaming that you about to be ruling over us? In a way, it was like a metaphorical dream, but his brother was like, Then he had another dream, and Joseph didn't understand that you don't tell everybody your dreams. Or you don't tell everybody stuff, because that gives hate, injury. And if you do, be prepared for the not the consequences, I would say, but be prepared for that their envious wrath. And God will protect you, and we're gonna get to that, how God stayed with Joseph throughout his whole time when he was being unjustly given done. And I'm like, dang, me and Joseph got a lot of kindness. Again, my brothers and sisters, they ain't do all that, but it was a lot. So we're gonna go. I'm skipping all over the point because I love Joseph's story. And so it was like, then he dreamed another dream and told it to his brothers, and said, behold, I have dreamed another dream. Behold, the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars were bowing down to me. But when he told it to his father and to his brothers, his father rebuked him. That's Jacob, who was now named Israel. I said, no, Jacob did not do that. And I think Jacob was mad because, think about Jacob. We're going to have to talk about Jacob, but this is not the story not about Jacob. But I was kind of surprised that Jacob did that. And he said, shall I, your mothers and brothers, thee come to bow ourselves to the ground before you? And his brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept that saying in mind. So his brothers spoke out loud their jealousy, but his father kept it to himself. And I wondered why. And I ain't got that discernment, but God gonna put it in my heart why he did that. And so his father, still knowing that his brothers were mad at him and knowing that his brother had ill will intent towards Jacob, as a parent, I would have been like, I'm not going to let y'all be interacting too much without me knowing about it, because it seemed like some treachery can go on. But again, I don't know if Jacob Israel was really trying to discern that, or he was like kind of fighting an inner turmoil battle within himself, because the devil comes to us in many ways, and he could have been, putting seeds of doubt in his head in regards to, actually, dang, should I have given the son my birthright? I done, created all this, this stuff, this treachery in my family. Should I even did this? I think that actually Jacob, or / Israel, whoever you want to call him, was kind of upset about. I think he was second guessing his decision, but I honestly believe at the end he understood why he made that decision so early on. But let's fast forward. So his father sent him out to the flock to go, shepherd over the flock and go find his brothers. And so he had on his coat. You already know Jacob had on his coat. And he was like, what's up, Dad? Dad came over here. Dad told me to see what y'all doing. And he was like, his brother's like, whatever. And his brother's like, go sit down somewhere. And so when he found his brothers, they saw him afar, and before they came near to him, they conspired against him to kill him. So when they saw Jacob bouncing around with his jacket saying, come on, y'all, I'm about to go help y'all with the sheep, they was like, yeah, we about to kill him, because he's just willy-nilly going around. And so they was like, yeah, we about to kill him. So what they saw was one of the sheep, or one of the flock, they had basically killed one of the sheep, or whatever animal that was around. I'm trying to focus. And they ended up killing one of the animals and throwing, actually selling Joseph into to slavery. They found some people on the road that was actually from Egypt, and they were like, yeah, he gotta go. They like, yeah, let's go ahead and sell him. They took an animal that they killed and grabbed that jacket, the birthright jacket, and put blood on it to make it seem like he was killed by an animal. And so Jacob sent off to slavery. Then their brothers, his dad was like, oh my gosh, what happened? Oh my gosh, he said, what does his dad say? Let me see. It's like, camel's bearing gone. Okay, Okay, so chapter 37, this chapter 38, verse, this is what we got found. 33, and he identified and said, it is my son's robe. A fierce animal has devoured him. Joseph is without a doubt torn to pieces. Then Jacob tore his garments and put a sackcloth on his loins and mourned for his son. So Jacob, it's so funny, Jacob was kind of mad that Joseph was having these dreams. Now he like, man, my son was out his his stuff, he's torn off. So he immediately stripped down to being so humble, and was just like, I'm not going to be, I can't recover from this. The son that I did give my birthright to is now gone, or dead, he perceived to be. So coming in chapter 38, they basically, where Joseph was sold, chapter 39, Joseph was actually sold to Potiphar, and Potiphar was an officer of Pharaoh, but he was like the captain of the army. And so Joseph found favor in the Potiphar, and so he actually was over a lot of different things. It was so crazy because wherever Joseph went, God was with him. And that kind of showed me that, Angelica, even if you're going through bad stuff, even if you're going through, stuff that may not be comfortable, God is always with you. And even when I did not know he was with me, he was with me. And I was just like, and the revelation was just so crazy to me. And it was so funny as well. I'm kind of going off track. I wanted to talk about this, but I was like, God, what am I going to talk about? Lord behold, a sermon come up that TJ was talking about this. I said, God, you are showing out. God stays showing. Every time I say I don't want to do something, or I can't do it, or I don't have it, and I ask God, to give that to me, to give, because of course it's not, TJ's thoughts, anything like that. But it was just like, my gosh, like, he's like, no, Angelica, I want you to do this, and this needs to be done. And I was like, what can I reference to, or what I'm saying, how I don't know how to make analogies and metaphors and pair. But again, I gotta have confidence in myself that I can do it. So that was just something that a little tidbit that I saw. So basically, Joseph was at Potiphar's house. That's the officer of the guard, and Joseph doing his thing. He was doing everything like that. While Potiphar's wife kept trying to entice Joseph, and Joseph was like, back up, lady, I don't want you like that. And Joseph literally was like dodging her left and right. He was dodging Potiphar's wife, and Potiphar's wife was like, you gonna have me. And Joseph was like, no, I no. He had so much integrity. Joseph was like, I'm good on you. I'm good, son. And Joseph literally got kicked out the castle, or out the pyramid, wherever they was at. He got kicked out because Potiphar's wife was like, oh, he tried to rape me. Oh, he tried to get me. And I screamed for some help. I'm just like, this lady, like, oh my gosh. So basically, unjustly done, like, and this not happens to me, but people will lie on you. So it's like that happens to me too. I'm like, people be lying, and I got in trouble for it sometimes. I was like, I said, God. But again, I didn't have Joseph's character. I was just like, no, I was fighting it out. I was just not fighting it out, but I was just like, and you ain't about to bring me down. And I was just like, you should have saw a little bit more character in it. And God was testing me, and I kept failing the test. But now I'm a pass, God. I'm a pass. But I'm just giving like some feedback. Like, I kept failing. God was like, Angelica, you are not ready at all. But it was funny just looking back at it. I'm just like, God. But again, I didn't interpret this story the same way I interpret it now. So I was just like, okay, thank you, God, for showing me myself in this. And it was just funny. So this sends Joseph to prison, because he basically tried to rape somebody, perceived. So he gets sent to prison. God was with him in prison. God literally was like, okay, the warden found favor in Joseph, and basically had him over to prison, and just like trusted him in what he was doing. And again, Joseph remained faithful in whatever he did. And that's crazy. Like it just, no matter where your circumstances are, you remain faithful, and you remain diligent to God, because it's all gonna work out for its purpose. And sometimes you be like, when you're in it, you be like, I don't want to hear that. But for real, like, God put you there for a reason. And so if he put you there for a reason, it will work out. But you have to understand and remain faithful in what you're doing, and don't grow weary in well doing. I said, ooh, God be checking me left and right. And so I was like, okay. Then kind of fast forward a little bit. Joseph was actually, while he was in prison, he had someone that was a baker and a cupbearer. Let me see. It was the baker and the cupbearer. I'm trying to see which one died. Okay. It was a cupbearer, and the cupbearer was like, I had a dream, Joseph, and the dream was like, this is chapter 40, which I said y'all go read. And he was like, chapter 40, verse 9. It was like, so the chief cupbearer told his dream to Joseph and said to him, in my dream, there was a vine before me, and on that vine there was 3 branches. As soon as it budded, it blossoms shot forth, and the clusters ripened into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup and placed the cups in Pharaoh's hand. Then Joseph said to him, this is an interpretation that 3 branches are 3 days. In 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your office, and you shall place Pharaoh's cup in his hand informally when you were his cupbearer. So he basically would get his job back. And so somebody else was like, oh, I got a dream. It was the baker and it says, he said to Joseph, I also had a dream that there were 3 cake baskets on my head, and in the uppermost basket there were also some baked food for Pharaoh, but the birds were eating out of the basket on my head. And Joseph answered and said, this is its interpretation. The 3 baskets are 3 days. In 3 days, Pharaoh will lift your head up from you and hang you on a tree, and the birds will eat the flesh from you. All right, well, that was just 2 opposite sides of the dream. But I think, and again, I didn't point this out, so I give credit to Pastor T.D. Jakes. He actually said that because he believes that the baker like kind of was like, oh, well, I heard that the cupbearer dream was kind of favorable, so maybe mine was favorable. He probably should have stayed silent and kept to himself so it could be, not living like that. I'm like, I don't want to know. And so he probably did not have that dream and was probably, I don't know. He probably did, but it was just funny to see that one dream was good and the other was not. And so basically, when the cupbearer, dream came to pass, Joseph was like, don't forget about me. Like, don't forget about me in this dream now. And eventually, the cupbearer said, I ain't gonna forget about you, Joe. And left Joseph in prison and was like, and forgot about him for 2 years. Until Pharaoh actually had some dreams that he had to manifest, and no one in the palace could interpret it. And then the cupbearer was like, oh, I know somebody in the prison that that can help you with your dream. It's Joseph, Joseph. And then so they brought Joseph into the palace. He interpreted the dream, and that was when the 7 years of famine, the 7 years of prosperity. And so they basically, it was a warning that God gave, that God gave Pharaoh, luckily. And I believe that God gave Pharaoh that dream because Joseph was in that place, and he knew that Joseph could do that. It was so crazy. Like, God would make your enemy your footstool. That kind of put them in. God just gave me that. I didn't write that down. So that's just crazy to me. It's like, you don't know where your blessing will come from. It could come from your enemy. And that's crazy to me because I'm the type of person, once I write somebody off, I write somebody off. But then God has been showing me in my life that forgiveness is key. You cannot be holding grudges all the time, Angelica. I give grace, and you ain't no better than me. So you need to be giving grace to people. I'm like, all right, okay. So it's just like, showing that forgiveness is better said than done, but I have been trying to do that because, again, you never know who may bless you. You never know who life you may impact. And so that is just something that I'm just, learning to do on my own and walking with. And it shows this in this text that he was put out the palace and only for him to be brought back because they need him. I was put out places only to be brought back because they need him. I'll leave it alone, God. I'll mess it around. So basically, I'm wrapping it up. It showed that he had favor, and it showed that even while he was down, he did not withhold his gifts. And that's why I say people, like, even if you're not getting paid for it, even if you may not see a harvest out of it, still work diligently as if you were being favored, or if you felt like you're not being favored, still show that same 100% vitality that you would if you were in good favor. And it's with the people, of course, you are gonna be in good favor with God if you're following His will. But with people, try to still show that agape love that Jesus showed and that God is showing today to Joseph. And so basically, and this story is long. I might have to do part 2, but I'm gonna get it over with. And then turn my stuff off for me real quick. I gotta turn some stuff off. I'm gonna be cooking. Hold on, I'll turn it off.
What happened?
Okay.
Is it burnt?
No. It smells like a donut. No. Get on there. Okay, my bad, y'all. And so basically, I was like, I want to burn the house down. Talk about what's the name? devil trying. But he was, so it talked about, the seven. Pharaoh's dream basically predicted the famine that would come. First, it would be 7 years of prosperity, and through that 7 years of prosperity in the fields of wheat, you need to be storing. And so I think, again, God showed me, you need to start saving. Like, I've been doing stuff, but start saving, because it will be a year, or it will be time where you're not. And it's so crazy. I just came from a place where I was not saving. And I'm like, God dang. I was like, well, I tried to warn you. I was like, okay, God, I didn't see it. So it's just like, now I'm just like, all right, God, I don't know when next gonna come. I need you to make it happen, Captain. And it's like, no, I have to remain faithful, and just like, when it comes, and really walking by faith, not by sight. And it's just like, get a little tidbit. And so basically, when the 7 years of famine came, people from all around felt it, except for Egypt, because Egypt was prepared for it. And guess who was in that? People needed stuff, because they were selling stuff, because they had such an abundance of it. They were selling it and giving it to people outside their area. Who you think came from outside that area? Joseph's brothers. And Joseph, because he looked different, and his brothers, didn't really recognize him. They basically was like, because at this point, after, he interpreted his dream, he put him over basically everything. Like, he was like second in command to the Pharaoh. So he was actually a king in his own right, in a way. And they basically, they was like kind of playing around. Joseph was so funny. Joseph, like, he was playing around. And so it's just chapter 42, verse 6. Now Joseph was governor over the land. He was the one who was sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brother came and bowed themselves before him. Joseph's first dream, remember? And Joseph saw his brothers and recognized them, but he treated them like strangers and spoke roughly to them. Where do you come from? He said. They said, from the land of food, from the land of Canaan, to buy food. And it's so funny, his brothers didn't recognize him. Anybody did wrong too, I recognize. I don't be playing around, because you don't never know. So it's amazing how his brothers done forgot what they done did. And I'd be like, is that you, Joseph? Is that you, Joe? But they didn't know him. And then so Joseph was basically like, the text basically showed that Joseph was really kind of it still hurt, even though years had passed. Because at this point, it was almost 14 years, because they was in that second set of the 7-year famine. And then he was 2 years in prison. So years had went by at this point, that, Joseph was sold off. So amazing how they forgot, but Joseph didn't forget. I ain't forget, never forget, forgive but don't forget. And so, taught me that too, but forgive, but you need to remember what happened, so you can, interpret that. And so Joseph gave orders in chapter 43, verse 25. Joseph gave orders to fill their bags with grain and place every man's money in his sack to give provisions for their journey. This was done for them. But Joseph tried to play around with them. He started like putting stuff in their bags so they can be brought back, and just like, y'all stealing. And they was like, nah, I promise you, we ain't steal. But just like, nah, y'all stole, because it was found in y'all bag. So I'm just trying to figure out what was going on. So he tried to kind of play them like how they did him. And eventually, they basically was like, Joseph first, he was playing around with them, but he really wanted to know if his dad was still alive. And so with that being said, his dad, he was like, once he found out his dad was still alive, and his dad really wanted, I guess, to see him, but his brothers basically let me see anything Ruben said. Oh, that's what happened. Joseph found out that he had a younger brother after him. And so he was like, y'all need to bring me that younger brother. But because his father was just so hurt from Joseph dying, the father, Jacob didn't trust, or Jacob or Israel did not trust the brothers with their younger brother. He's like, nah. But all the brothers like, nah, I swear to you, we got to go bring him, because that's what the Pharaoh said, or we cannot come back with anything. And so the father actually let them come. And then he actually went, so in chapter 43, verse, verse 6, it says, why do you treat me so bad as to tell the man that you had another brother? They replied, the man questioned us carefully about ourselves and our kindred, saying, is your father still alive? Do you have another brother? So they were basically saying that, asking him what was going on. And the father, Father was trying to figure out why Joseph, or why he didn't know that was Joseph at the time, or why he was asking all these type of questions. And the brother's like, we don't know. He was just asking all these questions, asking about us, and we didn't know. But he basically saying that he ain't about to help us if we don't, give him what he need. And he was like, then in that verse 11, he said, if it must be so, then do this. Take some of the choice fruits of the land in your bags and carry a present to this man. And then the same stuff that Joseph was sold with, balm and little honey and gum and stuff like that. And he says, take double the money with you. So they was like, all right, we're going to see. Again, they let his brother, he said, take also your brother and arise and go to the man. He said, may God Almighty grant you mercy before the man. And I said, when you pray to God and make up true, Jacob prayed to God, like, y'all better bring Benjamin back. I ain't playing with y'all. And then so when Joseph saw Benjamin, he said to the steward of his house, bring the men into the house and slaughter an animal and make ready for the men so we can dine with. So Joseph cried again during this time because he was just like, I'm going to quit playing with them, but that really, really hurt me. So I honestly believe like Joseph was trying to like get it out of them. And then he basically tested his brothers to see what was going on. So he basically, after they finally showed him the brother and things like that, Joseph tested him again with putting something in their bag. And they was like, this ain't my silver cup. This ain't mine. They was like, well, somebody stole it. Somebody took it. And then so they basically, Joseph said, what the deed is said, done, deed not. Because I read it, but I want to make sure I'm getting right. So I did read it already. I was making sure. Brother said, oh my Lord, please let your servant speak a word in the Lord's ear. Have your father. I was trying to get to the part where Joseph revealed himself. Okay, chapter 45. Did I say that? So chapter 45, Joseph was crying, and he was like, even testing him, Joseph was not like that type of person, I feel like. So Joseph was like, I can't even get back with them with these tests. I'm not like them. So it hurts me that they did me like that, but I can't even do them like that. And so basically, Joseph was like, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? But his brothers could not answer him, for they were like shocked, like, you who you said you was? Said what? And they say what? And so Joseph, his brother, come near to be pleased. And they came near. And he said, I'm your brother Joseph, who you sold to Egypt. And now do you not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here? And I think that's what really Joseph was mad. Like they had no worry. They're worried about eating. And Joseph like, y'all had a whole brother who died that y'all sold off to. And y'all act like y'all don't know what's going on. So I think that really what hurt Joseph was like, 14 years done passed by, 14, 16 years done passed by, and y'all don't remember me, but like make it make sense. Like I feel Joseph. Like, come on, like y'all sold me out. Y'all can at least remember who y'all sold off. And so basically they're like, oh, that Joseph, the brothers. And so he basically like, I'm gonna provide for you and things like that. But his dad was still upset. And so once they came back and they basically saw that his dad saw that Joseph was alive, Joseph was like, thank you. Because he was literally on his last, Jacob was like, thank you. Because Jacob was like almost about to die. Like, he was on his last leg, and they live a long time in this age. But Jacob was like, I need to see my Benjamin back. And then once they found out that Joseph was still alive, he asked God to keep him here until he saw Joseph, and he made a pact with him. And so it was like kind of a very beautiful, like, to make long story short, it was a beautiful story. And long story is already long, but beautiful story how Joseph, remain vigilant with God's plan, regardless of the ups and downs, and the downs more so than anything, because he stayed in prison about 2-3 years, and just remaining faithful to God and counting that God was always by him by showing that favor over his life. So if y'all feel like y'all always down, but for some reason wherever you at, God shows favor in your life. I know for a fact that happens with me in certain places. Like, just favor be shown like all the time. It's like, God, I thought it was me. You're like, nah, it's God. So, because sometimes I didn't even deserve it. So I know that was nothing but God. And so that means God has something over your life, and it's the reason why he places you there. So of course it's easy to look at the bad things and negative things, but try to look at the positive of where you at, and always try to, be the best person you can be while in that moment. That's what it kind of taught me. And as well, just always like using your gift for God's good. Like my different gifts that I have, I'm starting to realize, like Angelica, it's a reason why God has placed you to be so smart. It's a reason why God placed you to be loving and kind. And you need to use that for a reason. Don't just keep it to yourself, or, you know, be hateful to people and things like that. And I'm not hateful. I'm just saying, like, don't let the enemy attack you, because the enemy comes in to kill, steal, and destroy. And if you let him, he will. And if you don't, he won't. Like, you know what I'm saying? God powerful. He way more powerful than the enemy, because he keep curse you like that. So keep playing. So I always just kind of, you know, try to remain that. So this is what that story taught me. I don't want to go too long, because it was gonna be long to upload this on YouTube. But definitely, you guys, I am back with another one. What's up next? Okay, I got that down. Y'all, it's David and Goliath. That's my favorite one too. All these my favorite ones. So David and Goliath is next. I'm gonna try to get that trial. I will get that done tomorrow when I come from church. So I hope you guys enjoy the Bible Basics with Jelly, and you always know peace, love, and soul.